And hello, and welcome to AleksConnects Creative Sandbox. My name is Alex, and let's continue our Fanart project Angry Birds vs Transformers. So yeah, this session is going to be pretty strange, because this is just basically a recording that I did like a couple of minutes ago, maybe half an hour ago. The reason why I did this recording, and I want to just sped up this, so this recording is actually 1.5 hours plus, and I just want to sped up our process of creating, because I actually today want to finish this sculpture, at least for our illustration. And in order to do this, if I want to finish it, I want to kind of make this session a little bit more compact. It's going to be an hour session. Maybe it will be extended a bit, maybe one additional hour we will see. But what I basically wanted to do with this session is, while you're going to see this sped up recording, I'm going to talk about things that I did in this recording. Not much new, so mostly I did the same things that I did in the previous session, so that's why I kind of felt that there's no point of seeing the same things. And also I kind of struggled a lot, and this recording was pretty slow, the process itself, and you will see it. I will speed up it probably at 5 or 10% speed, and it's going to be in some places pretty slow. Yeah, so basically let's just start this thing. So for now it actually sped up at probably 5. Let's see. Yeah, so right now it actually sped up at 5. Right now I actually make speed about 10. So yeah, I'm going to go in between like 10, 5 speed. Occasionally I wanted to change it occasionally, just like for instance if we're going to be in a particular places that I wanted to talk about something and what I'm doing, I'm just going to talk about it. But basically this session is going to be partially sped up. After this recording will end, I don't know how time it's going to take, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20, maybe less, who knows, we'll see. After that I actually wanted to dive into the designing actual eye for the transformer, and eye is going to be the last thing that we're going to design for this transformer. So this is actually the last thing that we need to do for this particular sculpture at this particular point. So yeah, right now things are pretty sped up. So what I'm doing right now, again, this is a recording. What I'm doing is just basically learning and adjusting to ZModeler, because again, in previous session, if you saw it, I was pretty uncomfortable with ZModeler. That was my first time that I worked with ZModeler. And throughout the session I kind of continued this thing. I tried to figure out how to work with ZModeler. So as you see, I kind of created a separate loop, edge loop, which allows me to make this shape a little bit I don't know, curvy. So basically I added additional subdivision because I felt like it. So throughout the whole actually recording, I'm going to almost or mostly work on these things. So I'm just going to work on these plates, trying to position them right, trying to place them the way they look best. So that's why I didn't thought that it's going to be that much interesting. So since it's going to be only like repositioning and constantly doing these things, I think let's just speed up at 10%. To make this process a little bit faster. Yeah, so for the most part the thing that I did is just I positioned things the right way, from different angles for them to look right. I tried to slightly change the sculpture itself, make it a little bit better to fit these plates. Not a whole lot of these things were done. Yeah, tried to actually lift up this angle, but then kind of decided nope, it doesn't work. I actually will get back to this one after I will mirror both of all plates. But for now, again, just placing them in the proper time, yeah, it doesn't look very understanding because there's a lot of rotation in here. This is probably one of the biggest problems when you're working with speed paints. You need to learn, if you will use this recording as a speed paint, you need to make less movements, like, because the more movements you make, the harder it is to see these type of elements. Again, trying to figure out how to work with this gizmo tool a little bit better. For the most part, the thing that I'm kind of constantly was annoyed by is the fact that when you're actually selecting an edge with a transpose action on it, unfortunately it doesn't select edge for the first time. You need to kind of go like deselect deselect the mask and then select it again. So in order to select an edge in here, for some reason you need to do two things, like, so yeah, as you see, I'm kind of a little bit changing slightly the sculpture itself. Again, not drastically, just slightly to make it work. And yeah, as you see, as I planned in previous session, I need to push this thing a little bit out, and it actually helped, because now it's much thicker, and it means that I can place this plate in here without interacting with the buttocks, because before that this plate was interacted with the buttocks, which we don't need. Yeah. So yeah, I'm continuing to do these things. Ideally, I would just let you to see this and just gone through the reference search, but I think I rather watch this with you and, I don't know, and comment on things that I actually did. Again, the only reason why it took me so long, like, because by the way, right now I actually mirroring things, so yeah, so as you see, I'm taking every object. Let's just slow down a little bit. Yeah, I'm taking every object, selecting it, making sure that this object is not selected, so I'm kind of unmasking it, and then just using the Z plugin transpose tools and creating an additional mirror on X-axis. Right now what I'm doing is I decided to create this centerpiece just for the sake of seeing how it's going to look. And basically I just used a regular primitive for it, of course. Then I selected the action of deleting unnecessary edge loops. I deleted unnecessary edge loops, and then I'm just repositioning it the proper way. I decided to work on it and mirror it, actually, because since I'm kind of learning Z-modeler, I wanted to create the left part, then create a right part, and then combine them with each other with a bridge, as I usually would do when I would create something in, like, actually modeling program. But since I not necessarily know how to do this in Z-modeler, or at least, like, practically, theoretically I knew how. Well, yeah, I need to test this, so that's why I kind of creating right now this thing a little bit just only from the one side, because again, I will then mirror it, and after I will mirror it, I will make sure that it's going to be connected. So yeah, just continue to reposition it. It's probably almost done. So yeah, as you saw, I mirrored pretty quickly. And then I tried to actually combine it. I actually tried to combine it with the automatic QMesh, because as I remember, QMeshes actually can automatically connect two separate pieces, but for some reason it didn't do that. And then I just, like, decided, oh, screw it, let's just combine it with the bridge. But when I started to combine it with the bridge, as you see, it didn't, like, worked right away, because you need to actually choose a specific action for it, a specific thing to do that. You need to choose like to connect two polygons, select one polygon and then the second one, and that way the operation will be applied. So yeah, I think starting from this point we could speed up even more, because from this point I'm not doing that much. The only thing that I did is oh, come on. Yeah, from this point I'm just basically rotated it. I tried to see how it's going to look. I just basically tried to figure out what's not working. I tried to make this one a little bit smaller, because for some reason it seemed to me that it's going to prevent movement from the back. So I kind of decided to make it a little bit smaller. So basically all these adjustments were just aesthetical and functional. Like I just tried to think about aesthetics and about function, so how these things are looking, and at the same time how these things are functioning. So for instance, this thing from the front, I kind of make it a little bit smaller, but then aesthetically it didn't look right. So functionally it would work fine, but aesthetically it didn't work. So I end up just slightly raising it higher, and then I decided that I actually have like the piece that I don't need. Then I tried to actually connect or close this hole, because right here actually closing the hole it's not that easy for some reason. Yeah, and like then I found how to do that. You just basically going into the probably, as I remember, edges, and choosing a close hole between edges. It just closes the hole, and then it kind of creates a triangle polygon, and you need to just delete the edge in between, and that's kind of it. I think there's a better way of doing this, I think, but so far this is the only way how I can figure out how to do this. So again, now I'm continuing to position it. So yeah, I tried to actually position it the same as it depicted in reference, because again, in reference it kind of looks pretty cool, and like right here it not necessarily looks the way that I want. Then I tried to mirror it again, or tried to work with the resymmetry, but resymmetry, smart resim, is just basically didn't work for some reason on it. And I decided to just delete one side and remirror it again with just a mirror tool. Yeah, I think we're kind of almost done with the recording, which is a cool thing, because now we could go right away into work. And then the rest of the time I'm just worked with remesh. Let's just take it a little bit slower. So what I'm doing now, I'm just basically, as I talked about previously, in order to work with a resim, we need to like tone it down, the resolution, because right now resolution is pretty high. It's more than 1 million polygons, and every time that resymmetry wants to symmetrize one part to another, like one side to another, it takes like years. And the quickest way to do this is, of course, go into the smaller polygon count. And what I did is just basically I duplicated the mesh. I put it one mesh, the original mesh, on top, the not original mesh, like the duplicate, on the bottom, and then I'm just basically used zero mesh tool with standard things. So zero mesh, adapt, and zero meshed it with 5,000 polygons count. And after this zero mesh was done, I just basically worked with, as I'm working now, with projections. No, actually right now I'm trying to resymmetrize. So projections work pretty interesting way. I will show you right in the after this recording is going to be ended. I think it's done. Yeah, so basically after this it's just like stayed in one place, because it again didn't proceed further. So yeah, and oh come on, I didn't open the brush. Okay, then we need to wait for ZBrush to open. So yeah, let's do for now this counter thing. So yeah, and basically after this recording was ended, I tried to actually symmetrize, but Smart Resim still didn't work for some reason. I actually don't know why. Everything seems corrected, but for some reason Smart Resim just basically didn't work. That means that I highly unlikely will resymmetrize this model. The fastest way actually to do this without Smart Resim is just basically separate the model on two parts from the center and actually put it. So yeah, now we in actual ZBrush, let's just quickly go through things that I did there. So yeah, I think the only way how I can create this I don't know, mirrored part, because again I can't properly mirror this hand to this hand because we don't have, I guess, enough polygonal or I don't know information in here. I think resymmetry works only when you have a specific information in there, or I don't know. So for some reason it just don't work. And also I tried resymmetrizing or making the resymmetry by just selecting a particular part, then making resim only on this particular part, but it still doesn't work for some reason. Again, with time I will figure out what is the problem, but for now, since I don't need this that much, it's not a crucial thing for me to understand how to do, so I will skip it. But definitely in the future I definitely need to address it. And by the way, so as you see right now, it's kind of pretty fast movement because now we have a low polygon count. As you see right now, we're actually working with the second method of sculpting. So there's two methods of sculpting: a sketching method, which kind of consists Dynamesh tool, when we're just basically dropping down or high the resolution and sketching things, creating new things, and etc. But when we are going into details, Dynamesh becomes too crazy, and usually we need to, especially when we want to rework a particular parts of the model. So Dynamesh, the good thing about Dynamesh, it's non-destructive way of working. So we could change things, we could add new things and do whatever we want with it. But subdivisional sculpting, or I don't know how to properly say it, but yeah, let's just call it sculpting with based on subdivision levels, it's a little bit different. So we have this subdivisions, so now we can work with the low resolution mesh. We could change all things in here, but the problem about this one, it kind of stays in the particular ground. So for instance, if I want to move this part right here, it's just going to stretch the polygons, and when I'm going to get back to this one, it's not going to look that good, because right now we have stretching in here and these polygons are just not recreating in themselves. So this is not new shape, this is just stretched out shape. And usually you need to work on these subdivision levels when you working with super high poly modelings or sculptures. Since I'm not working with that like super high poly sculpture, I don't think that I will use this method. But again, the only reason why I did this projection, creating a lower resolution mesh, is just I thought that I will use Smart Resymmetry, but unfortunately Smart Resymmetry didn't work. So let's just quickly go how I did this. So again, I duplicated the mesh, so this is my original mesh, and I just duplicated this mesh through the duplicate function. Then I selected this one, I turned off my original mesh, and then I just gone through geometry, zero measure. This is the standard 5 count, target polygon count 5 thousandths probably. Selected the adapt, the same as here, and then it's just made this mesh like this. It's pretty small resolution with pretty low amount of details. Then I created another subdivision level by Control D, and turned on my high resolution mesh. Then I went through projections. Forget where the projections are. Actually used my projections right here. Everything stayed like default. I just press the button project all, and what it does, it projects details from the high polygonal mesh onto the low resolution mesh, depending on the level of subdivision. So for instance, making this projection on subdivision level 1, it's pointless because we already adapted density or geometry from our original mesh to this low resolution mesh. But then each time that we're actually subdividing, it's better if we would apply like new details. So the more subdivisions we adding every time with new subdivision, we need to press project all, and it's going to just basically make this mesh as close as possible to the mesh that we did before, and that way it allows us to actually work on this mesh with the lower detalization. But the only problem with this that I kind of faced throughout my small limited amount of experience with ZBrush is that you can lose a lot of details. So the original details, for instance right here, as we see, I lost divisions in here. You can control these things by moving these sliders. So this distance slider, the lower the distance slider, it kind of recalculates projections a little bit more accurately, considering the amount of space in between these edges, and it's not going to connect them. It will keep them separate, but it's usually like still in pretty close places. It's still going to mess up your geometry a little bit. So this is probably the thing that you need to resculpt a bit. But in the end, it kind of usually does pretty awesome job. Like considering the fact like that it's automatic retopology tool, it actually gives pretty awesome results, and I don't know, maybe for actual sculptors zero measure is not very good thing, who knows, but like for me, for these purposes that I'm using it for, it's more than enough. It actually is super awesome. So as you see, by doing these reprojections, we actually lost information in here. It looks horrible, and the thing is that on lower subdivisions it looks not that bad, but the higher we go, the worse it gets. And the problem is, if I will try to change this, for instance, on this subdivision level and make it right, when I'm going to lower on the subdivision level, oh, it actually stays. Before that, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, in the previous ZBrush, it kind of was pretty strange. Might do some on a higher subdivision level, going back. Yeah, I guess in this ZBrush they actually made it even more. Even smarter projection. Because again, before that it was pretty like there still was a a lot of problems in between subdivisions. So if you, for instance, making changes on a particular subdivision level, when you're going back, it kind of destroys all your subdivisions, and you need to change them on this subdivision level. Then you getting back to fourth and it's still changed, you need to change it again. So it all depends on the complexity of your mesh. Usually the more complex your mesh is in terms of like close spaces or small distances in between parts of the model or sculpture, the more problems it would usually create. So yeah, let's just stop rumbling. Let's just go back to the beginning in our Undo history, right where we actually opened the project, and actually start to work on the eye, because again, I don't have that much time of working on the eye. I guess we have like probably 30 minutes. Yeah, so again, before that I kind of already searched slightly and tried to figure out how the transformer's eye is going to look. It's still unclear, but for the most part it's kind of in the dark, and we see glowing iris. For instance, if we're going to take these ones, especially when we're going to look at our knights. So knights are actually don't have eyes almost at all, which just kind of makes it pretty cool, because they are like wearing helmets, and it would be a pretty interesting idea to actually not create an eye for them, but instead make this thing deeper, and whatever light is going to hit this part, everything inside is going to be complete dark. And we could make like just eyes a little bit shine. So yeah, so there was so you see, like for the most part we can't see what's out there, but there's definitely an eye here. So I think it would be a good thing to create at least suggestion that the eye actually present there, although it's kind of in the dark and we're not going to see it. This is the good example of the construction of the transformer. So we actually have these bunch of technical things that kind of works like an eyelids, this telescopical thing that looks like an eye. So yeah, we still have like a little bit information how to work with it still, and the closer, yeah, the same for instance in here we still have like the presence for the eyelids. I not necessarily want to create an eyelids, because again, this is for the most part a statue, not a on the Cybertron, not an actual Autobot or a Decepticon, because again, Decepticons and Autobots has much more complex eyes to them, because they are not wearing a helmet necessarily, they are in their regular state. But Knights, they are wearing helmets, and that kind of, I need to showcase this. But still, even right here we could clearly see that like eye is almost invisible. Well, it's in the dark, which kind of makes it. So yeah, I think I could create something like just a simple sphere there. So yeah, this is like what the Knight's eye looks. So again, we have a helmet and we don't see that much of an eye here. We could create something similar though. Because again, I don't want to create like a human looking eye, because this is pretty close to the human looking eye. So I kind of need to find a balance to it. Ideally, I wouldn't want to create eyes at all. Like, these elements are perfect. And I still don't know what type of lighting I'm going to create, so it's still kind of in question. So I guess this is the thing that we definitely need to figure out on the go. Okay, so, and let's just in the remaining time try to design an eye. So yeah, quick sum up about these plates. They look pretty like strange for me, because maybe while I worked on this transformer I kind of get used to the to see the transformer without them. But for instance, if I am going to, it's much easier way to just. By the way, I'm going to work on my original mesh, not the mesh that I actually created. Maybe I even need to delete it. No, let's just keep it. Maybe it will help. So yeah, let's just use a solo button. So I kind of get used to this one, and I kind of like how it looks. And when you add these elements, it starts to look a little bit strange. But at the same time, it kind of looks more complete. Again, every Transformer statue is going to be different. A couple of Transformer statues are going to have these plates. Some of them are not going to have these plates. Some of them are going to have only one plate, like, or half of a plate. They're going to be like half broken. So we're definitely going to think about these things later. But for now, I think I will keep these plates in here. They kind of work. At least I figured out how they're going to be placed, how they're going to be positioned, what their planar separation is going to be, and how it's going to look comparing to the mesh. So yeah, I think I will keep them. Why not? That's kind of a thing. So, and let's just go dive in right into the eye. Because again, for the most part, I kind of finished the sculpture. Like, yeah, ideally I would need to resymmetrize it and make this like completely symmetric, but I don't think that it's necessary though, and I will spend a lot of time to doing this, so I will keep it for later, after I will actually decide to create a character design from this one. If I actually will do this, I don't know, it's still in question. So yeah, let's just go with the eye and actually create an eye. So we're going to create an eye using IMM primitives, of course. We're going to create a, ideally we have insert sphere, we have sphere 32. A difference is that this sphere actually could look most like a look close to the eye. Let's just this one. It kind of has the texture of the eye. Okay, let's just place it. And then we definitely need to scale it down. Scale it down completely. Then determine the position of the eye. Again, I think the eyes needs to be as deep as possible, but at the same time, definitely think need to create something in here, like an additional. Okay, whatever. Let's just right away symmetrize it. Let's hope it's going to work. So we are going to the subtle master, mirror. Okay. Warning: combined mesh will. Oh no! Cancel. So yeah, let's just separate it from this mesh first. Split masked points. Unmasked points. Yeah, this is unmasked. We need to split it separately. So now these things are actually subdivided, which is a good thing. Move it a little bit higher. And let's just create a symmetry for it, just for the sake of knowing how it's going to look. Okay, so what? It didn't work. Probably because, tell me why it didn't work. Okay, let's just do it again. Mirror. Okay, now it works. Now let's just properly place it. The higher we are going to place the eye, the more intimidating he's going to look. Oh, careful with this one. Just turned on the symmetry. definitely need to be higher. How close they need to be. Since this is a male transformer, because I don't know if female transformers are actually exist, just kind of a problemo. I think if you're creating a world, there's need to be a female transformers. I guess, yeah, there are female transformers there, because either in comics or in Transformers series there were, maybe in the movie, I don't know, a long time ago watched them. Okay, this is kind of works. Let's just keep it. And again, creating an eye for the transformer it's not that big of a deal. You just need to create two spheres and place them properly. I could just go with this one and that's it, like, and not sculpt anything, but I kind of want to create something around these eyes. Probably will, but the only thing, I wouldn't want to mess with our sculpture because it's going to be then pretty problematic to keep things in order. First, let's just bring a little bit changes to the eye itself. Make it look great. Also, lasso, mask. Yeah, we need to actually smooth peaks instead of valleys in here. Yeah, by adding eyes it kind of makes it a little bit more realistic, because without eyes it's just a statue. With eyes it kind of... By the way, let's go into the model itself and change a little bit the eye. Let's go into the Z modeler, since we have a lot of, not that much of a polygons to work with here. Select, whoa, polygons that we need to transform. And then use a extrusion. Let's hope it's going to extrude inside. No, it actually works with a movement. Select it. Okay, works. I'll just deselect everything and reselect these polys. Scale them. Let's hope it's going to work. Nope, it doesn't. Because again, we have mirroring in here, it's not going to work properly. I might just because I kind of want to actually individually scale it, which is the problem sorry about that, of the Z modeler that I need to understand how to deal with. So how can I scale them down? Or The only thing is to transpose, but it's going to transpose only... No, we actually have a scale in here. Cool. Single poly, mass center. Yeah. Needs to work actually, let's see. Okay, we need to choose a different action to it. Mass center makes center in here, and when I'm scaling it doesn't work. We need to find out there's a function to axis center, local symmetry. Yeah, local symmetry probably would be a good choice. It needs to work now. What? Yeah. I wanted to do this one. Okay, good. And now just slightly move it. Move. Align to normal and align to axis. This is still something like with movement that I definitely need to figure out, because how can I control movement? How can I set the particular axis to follow? So it's not something that I... Okay, this one for the eyes, it's more than enough, I think. Let's keep it like this. For the Transformer's eye, I think it's pretty clear, even from far. Still need to think, maybe place them... No, I don't want that. I don't think that they need to be placed far apart. And probably the last thing that I'm going to do is to actually create a additional IMM primitive in here. We're going to choose a cylinder. That was a glitch. Rotate it. By the way, there's a couple of ways of sculpting, like you can before that I kind of talked about adding EPs and subtracting when you actually like cutting the holes in the, or creating the holes in the form, or adding new form on top of this form. But this one calls I don't know how to properly would call it, when you're actually adding like insertion, like, or inserting a particular elements to already existing objects and then sculpting them inside your sculpt. It's one of the ways. I will still reshape it completely, so it's not a big deal. Okay, let's keep it like this. Then let's just dynamesh it for us to work with it. Oh no. First, we need to separate it, split, and mask. Choose this one, dynamesh it. Then let's just make it work. Create a random shape from it that's going to look good for our eye. This is something that I didn't explore before. Again, this is like the first time that I'm actually using this type of sculpting. I saw before many sculptors use this thing. It's actually a pretty cool thing. Usually when you need to add a particular form, you just simply adding a whatever primitive is closer to the form that you want to depict in here, and that's it. And then you're just sketching it with Dynamesh, making it the right way that you want it to be. Again, I want to suggest a little bit the presence of eyelids in here. It's going to make it less robotic and more like closer to the human. If I'm not going to like it, I will delete it, but at least we're going to make this eye a little bit much cooler than it is now. I think now we just need to create a symmetry on top. I don't know how far this symmetry is going to be created. Let's just see. By the way, let's save. I think we did a lot of things in here. Why not save? Ready to do mirror. Now we need to actually choose a Y symmetry. Let's hope it's going to work. Okay, it's created them right here on the bottom, which kind of works. Whatever. No, actually, let's create them on a separate. Append is a new subtool instead of merging it with the existing one. And then we need to find it right here. And just basically move it into the place that we need it. Okay, this thing that I hate, like how to manipulate this thing though, like properly. Whoa. Careful. Careful. How to reset this one? Because for now it's kind of unclear. I want to reset it to the... Maybe we could reset it though. Because transpose tool we could reset, but this one it's not resetting for some reason. Maybe I just don't know how. Oh, whoa, 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 be careful. I need to figure out where this selection is. Okay, it's in here. Okay, it's visible. Is this just the only eyebrow, or there is a two of them? Two of them. So it's like whatever. Whoa. What this thing does. Oh, this is interesting. Cool, cool, cool. No, we need to use only selected subtool. How you actually make it like straight? So you tell me that I need to constantly... I don't know what these things are doing. I definitely need to learn this new gizmo tool, like separately, just by watching a couple of videos on YouTube. I think they're already there. Let's just place it on top. Yeah, I wanted to zoom. Of course, this one needs to be a little bit higher because, again, this is the way that eyelids are placed. They are not in one line. The upper eyelid is more protruded Okay, and I guess let's just connect them together. Okay, by creating a specific angle, we could create a character. We could add a character. Because again, it's something like closer to the working with the proportions of the face. How to properly place the eyelids, what angle there need to be. All these things are slightly going to change the character. Just make it a little bit more vicious looking. Okay, kind of works. Ideally I kind of want to connect them, but how I can do this, I don't know. Is there's a possibility to merge things? Yes, merge down. Yeah, let's just save and then do this because it's not undoable operation. Merge down. Yes. So it merged down these two shapes, which is exactly the thing that I wanted. With Dynamesh, they are now connected. We're going to sculpting again, and we are making them the way that we wanted. Okay, have a little bit of problem here with adding new shapes. Because we actually have strange things here happening outside of our view. Dynamesh. They're connected now. This is the awesome thing about Dynamesh. By the way, Blender has similar tool. It calls Retopo or dynamic retopology. Dynamic retopology. So for now I'm just going to create the shape and then I'm going to shape it properly. It looks strange. Go back. I'll just first move it. The eyes are going to be like slightly important. I don't think that they're going to be super important. I still want to implement them into the story, as I said before. They are going to be a part of the story, but they are going to be just like additional elements to the story. They're not going to be a crucial thing though. And still, ideally, I would want to make it more tech looking, because right now it's just like a blob shape. We need to make it a little bit more tech-like. Oh, come on, I don't want to make a focal shift. By the way, we're kind of closer to the end. I think I will extend it in half an hour for now, and then we'll see how it's going to go. Again, the key thing with working with every new shape that you're creating is to lay down the basic shape. The more clear the basic shape is, the easier for you it's going to be then to work with. By the way, we kind of get into the pretty big detalization level right away, 100 or 1000 polygons or counts. So okay, let's just try to actually make it more. Okay, let's just extend session because like 5 minutes left. We're not going to manage to finish in 5 minutes. Just extend it to half an hour for now. Ideally, I need to go to sleep. But again, since I kind of want to finish this one, and starting from Monday, actually finally start working on lighting. Because like I spend a lot of time working with sketching, then a lot of time with working with sculpting. You need a refresher. Change in. Which is one of the things that I like about the type of process that I'm using, like involving sculpting and all these things to help me to understand these subjects better, is the fact that I'm constantly changing mediums. So I never going to be bored working with only one medium. So for instance, I worked on 2D medium at the beginning of the project, then I gone into 3D medium with sculpting. Then I'm going to get back into the 2D medium, and then we probably going to use as help guide like the Blender. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see how things are going to work. We definitely need additional level of subdivisions. I think for this eye we definitely need to put it higher. It's not enough for us to shape things right. Okay, let's decide how this thing is going to look before creating additional details. Does it needs to be separated? Does this one going to be separated? Because again, they need to look like a robot. Just make this shape a little bit. Like this. Don't think if it's going to look good or not. Guess we'll see. Now this is actually gonna make things a little bit better. Could do the same for this one. For the most part, I don't think that it's going to be that visible. Definitely looks suspicious. It looks pretty ridiculous because these things are highlighted after I will choose the mesh itself. Now they look more like one mesh. Now they're not highlighted and they actually look like they are belonging there. But when they are highlighted, they look pretty ridiculous. Ridiculous. Moving things. Yeah, I hope I actually did everything that I set out to do. So like for the exception of detailing, because again detailing took us numerous hours, and I don't want to get into detailing too much. For the most part, all of the details I already laid out in here, and they are present on this right side. Unfortunately, I can't mirror it. I will figure out how to properly mirror it. I think we could still do this. I need to watch a couple of tutorials with resymmetry and to actually figure out how it's going to properly work, because for some reason my basic knowledge of resymmetry doesn't allow me to properly deal with these problems. So yeah, we definitely need to make resymmetry for these legs, because they're with a bunch of artifacts in here. So we definitely need to create resymmetry in order to just finally feel the whole look of it right away, because this hand is definitely something that throws this sculpture off. If I'm not going to manage to work with resymmetry, I'm just going to deal with this in a much more easier way. I'm just going to select my mesh. I'm going to select the half of the mesh by rectangular selection. Oh, yeah, mark pen. I'm going to select like mesh right in the center, then I'm going to delete this half. I'm going to copy it or duplicate it, or no, even better, I'm going to mirror it like this, and then I'm going to dynamesh it, and it's just going to connect them together. This is like the fastest way of doing this without smart resymmetry, but ideally it would be cool if smart resymmetry would work. But yeah, the only bad thing about this method, we could get out of the center. So right now you see it's not in the center, it's a little bit shifted, and when we're going to create a symmetry for it, it's not necessarily going to work good. But anyway, let's just try to do this, like, why not? This is the end. I can already finish with the eye. Okay, let's delete this thing that we did before in order to, because I'm going to make another duplicate for it, so let's just delete this one. Going to use a small polygon one. Let's duplicate this one and actually turn it off and actually do the thing that I said that we need to do. Let's actually do that. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. Yeah, control. So yeah, we're going to select thing right in the center. We're going to actually need to select this part. I think it's off. Needs to be pretty close to the center, which from far pretty hard to make the right. Maybe like this? I don't know. Let's try it. And then we're going to delete hidden, and then the only thing that we need to do is just simply mirror. X, merge. Okay. Combine mesh will be, let's hope it's not going to take too much time. I kind of saved either way, so the last time I saved was, no, let's just not do this for now. Let's instead save, because I don't want to lose progress, and then try to actually mirror. It could take some time. If it's going to take too much time, I will... What happened? Operation completed, but nothing changed. Okay, delete hidden again. Then we are going to get rid of the selected mask. It has to work now. Okay, it worked. Oh, cool. It actually created the difference. Oh, this actually looks cool, the fact that it's separated in the center. I don't know why. Kind of looks pretty awesome. And let's just try to dynamesh. It's not dynameshing. Too far. Let's again, I don't dynamesh actually could work with the distance, or it's just only for zero measure. Thickness, the thickness of the shell and the relation to the resolution of the dynamesh. We could like drop this one higher, see what it's going to look like. Nope, nothing. Nope, nothing. Let's go back to the 4. But how can I connect them then? Because I mirrored everything that I wanted, but the problem is we have this wedge in the center. So let's just go back and reselect it a little bit better. I think there is a way to select the half of the mesh right in the center, maybe by restricting movement. Oh, actually, we need to choose less. That way it's going to be mirrored the right way, I guess. No, more. Instead, more. Because that way it's not going to create a hole. Okay, this is more like a center, I guess. Let's try this one, could work. Delete hidden. Unmask, because first time if you're not unmasking, after you deleting, the hidden mirroring doesn't apply properly. Merge them together, yes. And for some reason we still have this thing in here, but it works fine in here for some reason. So the head works fine, but the things on the top and the bottom doesn't look right. Strange. Maybe because there was a little bit of a tilt. Nope, there's no tilt in here. So yeah, basically this is the way of doing this. I'm probably not going to continue with this because it kind of... So this is my last try. I will try it, see what's going to look like. Nothing is going to work, I'm just keep it as it is and deal it separately outside of the streams. Oh yeah, it actually perfectly works perfectly. It created exactly what we wanted. It mirrored everything that we needed. Okay, good. Dynamesh to apply it again, although it's kind of already applied. Cool. So yeah, I guess we could save now. So yeah, this is probably the fastest way to dealing with creating a mirror parts of your model or sculpture. In case your regular method of working with resymmetry doesn't work. Okay, valleys, we need to, yeah. Okay. Turn on symmetry because now we actually have symmetry. This is soften. Make this one a little bit sharper because it's not sharp at all. Same in here, making our head a little bit better looking. this is like finishing touches. Because again, if this one would be a final sculpture, I would continue to work on it a long time. But it's not final sculpture, it's just a reference. So because this is a reference, we don't need spend super more time than we already spent on it. And the cool thing is, like, the more I'm going to work with this type of method, the less I'm going to spend time on sculpting, and faster I'm going to dive into the painting itself. Because the reason why I'm actually spending too much time in sculpting now, because I'm not sure about my abilities to work with 3D form without properly understanding it in 3D. But I think when I'm going to dive into actually working with lighting, with like rendering itself, I think I could adapt pretty quickly, or at least I hope so. I hope that I will adapt pretty quickly, and maybe I don't even need this one. Still going to use it though, as a reference. We spent time on it, a lot of time. Probably more than a half of this overall time spent on this project was spent on this sculpting. Kind of makes it from one side sad, from the other good. Good because I gained experience, and sad because it took a lot of time from actual creating the project. Because again, ideally I would already finish it. Okay, it actually looks pretty cool. Yeah, the only thing, or the last thing that we're going to do, we're going to actually, by the way, let's place this one higher. Let's rename this mesh BK, like a backup. Let's make this one mirrored MR. Quicker thing. Let's just bump up the resolution to 2 to 8, and let's dynamesh. Okay, now this thing has better resolution. Now let's just work on it and to refine it a little bit better, because I want it to look like this is hard surface thing that has its own shapes and separations here and there. Again, making hard surface suggestions. Let's just go into solo. Just make slight adjustments in movement to make it a little bit straighter here and there. After dynamesh, this thing is going to be applied, and we could continue to shape it up properly. necessarily think that we need to straighten up this thing. Just need to be straight from this point of view. Okay, now Dynamesh it. Use smooth valleys to bring these things higher. I think smooth valleys is not enough. I guess we need to put additional information in there for them to work. Whoa, what was that? I did something bad. What I did? Okay. Don't screw with colors. This stage is not a coloring stage. Probably doesn't look that good though. But again, I think I need to do something like this still. Because we need these separations to make sure that this one is going to be appear robot-like. Okay, let's just delete these peaks that I created that don't work. Maybe we need to go with the flow in here. Actually create something curvy. I don't know about this one. Maybe this one looks a little bit better. Because again, without them, it's pretty empty. We need to add something to it, like design it a little bit better. And I think this one is actually kind of works. Yeah, I think let's keep it this way. The rest is just making it look right. By the way, we kind of left 10 minutes. 10 minutes left. What are you gonna do about it? I don't know, what are you asking me? I'm not in charge of the time. Okay, this one could work. Just smooth things inside to make this transition better looking. There definitely needs to be angry. The angrier transformers are, the better it's going to contrast, or not contrast, but actually it will create a cohesive feel with Angry Birds, because Angry Birds for the most part are angry, and the Angry Birds are just basically pissed off the Transformers because they came to destroy them. Ideally, I would of course shaped it a little bit better, but again, don't have time on it, and I don't think that we need to do this. Like, yeah, I have more than enough information for this project to slowly finish it, or at least to the sculpture. Still doesn't look that good from all angles, but guess we could slightly bring it to. Yeah, some parts of these type of designs work are much easier in 2D actually, because like if I would make this in 2D, I would already created separate primitives and applied them here, but with this one it's not necessarily the case, because we need to think it from every possible angles, or like make sure that it's going to look right from every possible angle. Unfortunately, it does not from every angle. And you see, these things are not going to look pretty, but again, if I would go into the highest details, I would definitely create them super sharp, and they would look, they would transition better. Since it's not that important information for us to consider, because again, we're not going to see this for the most part of the design. Okay, let's just choose the eyes and actually see how it's going to look. Yeah, it actually looks pretty cool. Let's just save it. Yeah, I think let's just slowly go into end. Let's just I need to wrap around my head if I actually finish this or not. Ideally, there's a bunch of things that I probably need to readdress, but for the most part, I kind of like how it looks. I like how the back it looks. I like how this part looks pretty intimidating or imposing. Now I even like how it looks from the side and all these design elements. Of course, they could be more straight, less than like curvy. But again, this is like one of the design elements that we could work on drawing and change it much faster, depending on the situation that we're in. It kind of looks from front pretty cool. The fact that these things are separated actually, oh, by the way, I think we need to create a little bit dynamic in here. Oh, not. Didn't want to do this. What the? Is this the right place? Or this one? This one? Or this one? I guess this one. Yeah, what I wanted is to move this one a little bit, because this one points to the eye, this one to the eye, and this one is not that much. Just want to make dynamic for this line a little bit more present. Again, creating movement. Going this line, right here, and right here. Not necessarily works here, but we kind of could. Place this thing even. Standard brush, brush. Again, if we had more polygons, we could solve this problem better, but yeah, I'm not going to stress about it that much. Yeah, it kind of looks actually tech-like. Like the fact that these eyelets are separated, it kind of makes it look a little bit more robotic, which is the thing that I need now. A robotic look. Why it's not moving? Oh, because I'm not using a move brush. Okay then. Again, technically, if I would depict this character in much more close-up, like in close-up, I would probably work more on the eyes, but from far we could suggest anything, and I don't think that we need to spend more time on it. So like, I think it's more than enough. What I didn't cover in sculpting, I will cover in painting. Like, again, I'm going to paint this eventually in 2D canvas, so the things that I didn't do here, I will cover in 2D phases. So yeah, I think it kind of looks pretty cool. Kind of works as a statue of the Transformer. Again, these plates are suggesting the fact that he's a knight. Also these shoulder pads, all these things are here to suggest that he's a knight. We still need to figure out how this Transformer is going to be like positioned in 2D, but for now at least we have enough information to analyze it in 2D. So, which kind of makes things a little bit cooler for us to have. Again, if I'm just going to look at this as a sculpt, it's pretty bad sculpt. It's jaggedy, it's bad in here. Yeah. We need to definitely put more time to actually polish it to the real sculpt. But for our purposes, I think it's more than enough. I already spent too much time on it. Okay, so good. So let's save it. And next thing I guess that we're going to do, but before that let's just check if we are right with the references. Yeah, for the most part I actually followed the reference. Here and there I actually took some changes. For the most part, whoa, that was a mistake. Choosing mesh, snap to mesh, and again snap to mesh doesn't work properly for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why this happens constantly every time that I'm relaunching a ZBrush. For some reason it's a strange bug. Okay, let's just go to the front and slightly put the horizontal offset to 0 everywhere. yeah, good. So yeah, the only thing that I change like completely is hands, because I definitely couldn't work with this positioning of the hand. We had to put hand in the rest position into the supinated position. We could work with pronated position with the pronation, but don't think that it could work because again, I designed this part for the relaxed hand, which is the supinated position. This is halfway, doesn't work for the designing at least. So yeah, changed a couple of things, but all in all, I kind of kept Sculpt in its origin. Yeah, these things were hard to design, so in 3D they're pretty complex form, so kind of gone a little bit out of the silhouette, but it's not a problem. The same for the side, but all in all, I think it kind of works. So let's just final check. Yeah, designs for the hands, we did these things in here and here. We did everything from the back, added information that we needed to add. Things from the side kind of work, which is cool. Yeah, the only thing from the side that could not work is the thickness of the hand. But all in all, I think it works. Just get rid of. Yeah, stayed right the way that I planned it, which is cool. The cool thing is that even in static, this sculpture actually has a little bit more dynamic to it, which is a good thing. It's rarely you can do this, like create a static sculpture and implement dynamic to it. And it's pretty important, I guess, because if you're not seeing this dynamic forward, you need to suggest this dynamic, or this dynamic needs to be present at this point, because it will definitely create give you more possibilities to take choices. Again, we still could work on these parts, separate them better. Maybe I will get back to this, but for now I think it's more than enough. Because again, I don't want to spend too much time on it. If I will face problems with depicting these shapes, I will get back to them, I will separate them clearly, and we'll see. But for now, I actually want to call it done for this point. Because again, starting from Monday, yeah, tomorrow is Monday, yeah. Starting from Monday, I actually finally want to get into the painting, because come on, I spent too much time on sculpting, and I love sculpting, but we need to go into painting sometime. So yeah, save, and let's just open our future illustration. So yeah, this is just basically, again, as I showed it already 100 times, this was the whole point of making this 3D sculpture of the transformer. We had to do this to properly work with these parts. Make it like this. Yeah, so we had to go through 3D, or at least I had to go through 3D just to understand better all these shapes. So now I know how these shapes look in 3D. If I'm going to struggle with them, I'm just going to open this model. I actually ideally would want to place this model, like just export it as OBJ and open it in Windows 3D. I forget how this 3D software works. Call it basically the standard 3D viewer of the Windows 10. put it in there and just use it as a reference. Rotate it from every angle that I want, see how it's going to work, what type of shapes are used here and there, or just simply open ZBrush and rotate it in there. Either way, that way I definitely will solve all these problems. So if I need information how this helmet works with this super distorted angle of view, now I have this information, or at least I have the information to analyze how to solve this problem. The same for these hands, or not hands. So it applies for all statues, which is awesome because most of the statues, they are in pretty crazy distorted angle. And it also applies to these heads, Transformers heads. Now I can place Transformers heads from almost every position. Now I know how it looks from the back, now I know how it looks from the recorded view in here, and now since we have a lot of Transformers details in our design depicted in terms of their form, in terms of their construction for the most part, we now can break down this shape or form and create these piles of garbage from the broken Transformers parts. So let's hope that I actually will manage to do this, because it's not an easy thing to do at all. It's super challenging, definitely going to be challenging for me. But eventually I think I will solve this problem, because again, I'd like to think that I know what I'm doing. And maybe sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but for the most part, I'm actually controlling things, and this is the way that I want my process to be. I want to control things. I know that you can control anything, and sometimes there are things in your process that you just can't control. But for the most part, everything that I can control, I want control. I want to control. And like, for me, I definitely felt that I couldn't control the behavior of this Transformers design in this complex angle of view, because they are too distorted. I didn't had the opportunity to work on these type of distorted things, so it's pretty uncommon to me. So again, every time that you're doing something for the first time, it's hard, and just to ensure that I'm not going to spend senseless time on frustration, I decided to go in 3D, work on the 3D model, sculpt this Transformer, understand its form, its construction, and now I'm not feeling helpless dealing with this problem. Now I have the information that will help me deal with this problem. So this is it. I'm not going to spend any more time on talking, because we're already past like almost 10 minutes. I will wrap up in 2 minutes, or one. Yeah. So yeah, starting from the next session, I definitely need to like create a little more clear plan what's going to be the next step, because I could actually rush things a little bit and jump into something that I'm not ready for. So definitely we'll spend a little bit more time to actually rethinking what actual step we need to take, because like I know initial steps that we need to take next, but the order of these steps is still in question. So like what I need to do first to make much smarter decision. This is the way that I guess it needs to be done. But either way, next is going to be definitely work on values, or something that involves lighting. So either I'm going to plan lighting, work on values, work on contrasts, work on like the composition of light, for instance, like putting how drop shadows are going to look, casting shadows are going to look, how everything is going to be created in terms of a mood. So now when we are going to have the ability to work with something that involves lighting, now we actually can manipulate a mood. So I need to make sure that I know what type of mood I want to invoke. So all these things are going to be in question in the next stages, and from now on I guess all streams will become a little bit slower in terms of like things, because so far all these sculptured things, they were pretty straightforward, because I already solved all problems that I needed. I already had design in the form of these guys, and the only thing that I need to do, that I had to do, is just to place them into 3D program and just sculpt them. That's it. So, and solve problem inside these things. But when we don't have that much information in terms of like lighting, then we need to spend a little bit more time to figuring out how to properly deal with it. So we need to ask proper questions: what type of lighting we need in terms of like composition, what type of lighting is going to depict better all our characters, because we wouldn't want two characters to just basically gone from our illustration just because of the bad lighting. We need to ensure that every character is going to be presented in a proper way, and we're going to manipulate lighting in order to achieve this. And it's going to be much harder because now we're dealing with more than one character. We're dealing with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 10 characters or more, and all of these characters needs to be properly depicted depending on what type of focus they are represent. So yeah, we're going to talk about these things later. Again, I'm just going to sum up this thing, and just wanted to make you a little bit of like overview for you to what we're going to do next. So yeah, sculpting stages are done finally. Again, I probably will get back to them later if I'm not going to feel that I'm have enough information about a particular planes. But other than that, I think for now, with confidence almost, I can simply go into the lighting stage and deal with the lighting finally, which I am super pumped out to do, because I actually wanted to get into lighting right away, because I love to work with painting. Painting is super awesome. Like drawing is pretty cool too, but again, if I will put 3 elements side by side, what I like to do best, so probably the first one would be a painting, second one would be a sculpting, or maybe sculpting and painting would share the first place, I don't know, because I'm kind of seeing them as one. And then would be probably a drawing or whatever, or working on construction or designing. I don't know, I'm not going to do this right now. It's pointless. So either way, I actually looking forward to next stage. So let's hope that it's not going to be that frustrating as were the beginning stages of this project. So yeah, on that note, we will end this session, or creative session. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, have a nice day or night, and see you in the next part. Bye bye.